Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dig into something pretty incredible, how high-tech is completely changing one of the oldest things we do as humans, farming. Yeah, we're talking about a full-on digital revolution, and it's happening in fields all over the world right now. And it all starts with this number, 9.6 billion. That's the number of people we're probably going to have on this planet by 2050. Now, that's not just some random statistic. It's a monumental challenge that's putting a ton of pressure on our food systems.
Which brings us to the biggest question of all. How in the world do we feed everybody? But it's more than that, right? We have to do it sustainably, especially with things like climate change and resource shortages staring us in the face. It's a huge puzzle.
Well, it turns out the answer is something called digital agriculture, or you might hear it called smart farming. This is where technology literally meets the soil. It's all about using data, connectivity, and automation to make farming way more precise, way more efficient, and a whole lot better for the environment.
I mean, just how big of a deal is this? Well, get this. People are calling the Internet of Things in farming a second wave of the Green Revolution. That is a massive statement. Think about it. The first Green Revolution was about machines. This one, it's all about data.
So what does this revolution actually look like on the ground? What's in the toolkit? Let's pop the hood and see exactly how data is changing the game for the modern farm. Okay, so the foundation of any smart farm is basically its nervous system. We're talking about a whole network of tiny IoT sensors. These things give farmers almost like superpowers. They can measure the moisture in the soil, which means they can use exactly the right amount of water, no waste. They're tracking weather in real time, helping pick the best crops. They can even monitor the health of livestock so animals get help the second they need it.
And then you've got these incredible eyes in the sky, drones. Instead of just spraying a whole field with chemicals and hoping for the best, drones give farmers surgical precision. They can fly over a field, spot a disease outbreak just as it's starting, and then do this super targeted spraying. That slashes the amount of chemicals used and stops all that nasty runoff.
But, all that data from the sensors and drones is just a bunch of noise without a brain to make sense of it. And that's where data analytics comes in. It's the brain of the whole operation. It takes all this information, processes it up in the cloud, and turns it into simple, clear instructions for the farmer. It literally says, hey, this spot needs water, or you should harvest this section next week. It's predictive, it's powerful, it's a total game changer.
Okay, so we've got the tools, the sensors, the drones, the data brain. But what's the real payoff here? I mean, why does all this matter? Well, it's about so much more than just getting a bigger harvest. It's about building a truly sustainable future.
This is a total mind shift in how we approach farming. Old school farming was based on calendars and, let's be honest, a lot of guesswork. You'd water because it was Tuesday. But with digital farming, every single decision is backed by data. Water is only used when the plants are actually thirsty. Chemicals are used sparingly. We can even track food through the supply chain to cut down on waste. It's a completely different world.
And the result? You get this whole collection of huge wins for the planet. We're talking about using way less water, lowering greenhouse gas emissions, wasting less food, and seriously cutting back on our dependence on chemicals. It's just better. Better for the farmer, better for us, and better for the environment.
Now, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But of course, it's not that simple. Making this transition to a fully digital farm isn't exactly a plug-and-play situation. The path to this future, well, it's definitely got a few bumps in the road.
Really, for this to work for everyone, we have to tackle three big challenges. First up, connectivity. You need good internet for all this, and a lot of rural areas just don't have it. That's a huge gap we need to bridge. Second is data security. Who owns all this farm data? How do we keep it safe? These are serious questions. And third, we have to make sure farmers can actually use this stuff. That means training, support, and making it accessible to everyone, not just the biggest farms.
So when you put it all together, with our population growing and our climate changing, you realize that digital agriculture isn't just a cool opportunity or a nice to have. It's an absolute necessity if we want a food system that's actually gonna last.
And all of this leaves us with one final, really big question to chew on. As these farms basically turn into data factories, we have to ask ourselves, who's going to control all that information? Who will own the data that quite literally feeds the world? That's a question that goes way beyond just technology. It gets to the very heart of our future.